the spirit of things. Good morning, Jay. Good morning. So what am I talking about? Okay, wait. Back up. Living in the spirit. What? Yeah, living in the spirit. Okay, because the spirit, or let's say the spiritual world, can bring you everything. Everything. Okay. This is what, and this is not new knowledge. Okay. This is not a new wave thing. This is not anything new. Okay. This is very old. This is in the Bible. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. It's in the Torah. It's in the Quran. Okay. It is the kingdom within. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. Okay. So the spirit, or the kingdom within, okay, is where you live from. This is why it says, seek first the kingdom and all else will be added unto you. Okay? What is the opposite of that? Well, the opposite of that is going by the physical world, because you get distracted into the physical world. And when you get distracted into the physical world, what happens? You start to believe the physical world. You start to believe the parameters set before you in the physical world. Oh, I have to have this before I can achieve that. Oh, I have to have a job before I can get money. Oh, I have to have this before I can, you see? Okay, because this is how they indoctrinate you. Okay, it starts in kindergarten. Okay, good morning, guys. Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Sarah. I see you. So it starts in elementary school, okay? It starts in kindergarten. And you get indoctrinated, okay? And it continues. Okay, but factory education was for the factories. Okay? This was part of the Industrial Revolution. Okay? Because as John D. Rockefeller once said, he doesn't want a nation of thinkers, he wants a nation of workers. Okay? Now, this is because we live in commerce. This is because everything is a transaction. This is because everything is a business. Now, if you look at things as a business, life gets easier to understand. Okay? You know, people are saying things like, you know, when something goes wrong with a company, right? A corporation. Okay, we're talking about an entity. You know, people go, wow, they don't care about us. No, they don't care about you. It's a business. Okay. But when you look at things as a business, life begins to change. You begin to see, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, right? But you take things personally when they don't go your way with an entity, okay? So this is why when you put your faith in an entity, when you put faith in a government, in a corporation, okay? So all governments are corporations. But when you do that and you put your faith in this physical world man-made thing, man-made versus God-made, what happens? It becomes mammon, and you cannot serve God and mammon. Why is that? Because you will put your faith in one of these two things. So people switch back and forth. I know people go to church every Sunday. They're probably right there getting ready right now. Okay, happy Sunday, by the way. And they go to church every Sunday. And on Sunday, they're in the spirit, in here. Okay? You're not your body. You're not your name. You're that spirit that lives in here. And they will celebrate that on Sunday. Okay? Because this is part of the conditioning. This is part of the ritual. Oh, ritual. Yeah. Yeah. And the reason why the Sabbath is on Saturday, but they worship on Sunday, which is a major disconnect in the first place, is because they needed the pagans to come to church. Okay, so way back then, it was still about money. Okay, now it's a 501c3, it's a business, it's an entity. But people come and they get into the spiritual sense. Okay, or the spiritual feeling on Sunday. And guess what happens on Monday when they have to go back to the corporation, when they have to go back to work, when they have to go back on the mouse wheel, when they have to go back to wash, rinse, repeat? What happens? Oh, now the belief has to shift and it has to go to the physical. Okay, not all, I'm not saying this happens to all people, but I'm saying this happens to a lot of conditioned people. Okay, because society conditions you for this. Sunday's church day. Saturday's soccer day. Right? Monday through Friday, it's work time. All right. And then you have an hour in the evening to just kind of kick back and then starts all over again. And some people do this like their whole lives. Their whole lives is on wash, rinse, repeat. Subconscious. 95% of your life is subconscious. And then what? Well, then it's time to take a few cruises and then it's time to go. Is this a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing for some of them. Okay? For some people, it's not a bad thing. For some people, it's the only thing they know. But they are living from here. They are living from the degree. They are living from the university. They are living from the profession. They are living from the corporation. So now, let's talk about the kingdom. The kingdom is in here because God lives in here. So you can be partners with God in here, okay? And you seek first the kingdom and all else is added unto you. And things begin to flow, okay? Money begins to flow. Opportunities begin to flow. What else? Everything, relationships, okay? I can't even tell you over the years how many beautiful people that I've met. They just come. They just come. The doors begin to open for opportunities. Opportunities come. Always. And all you have to do is seek. That's all. This morning I did a half-hour meditation. Okay, it sounds like that's an easy thing, right? It sounds like it. Okay, try. Because we live in a stimulus-based society. Okay, everything is stimulus. People expect like, well, if I graduate college, right? Young people, graduate college, next week I can be CEO. And they have those kinds of expectations only because we live in an immediate gratification society. And that's because of technology. It gives you the impression that things happen overnight. But it takes years to create an overnight success. Okay, it took me years to get anywhere. And for many years, I had no clue. I had all the information. I had no clue how to put it together. Okay, so let me break this down for you. Subconscious learning. Okay, first, there are 3 states of awareness: conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Now, those of you that believe in God, we will call that the superconscious. Okay, because everybody believes differently. If you don't believe in God, it's okay, no judgment. And there's only the conscious and subconscious. But your subconscious is the book of life. Everything you've ever said, anything you've ever thought. Okay, because you can think things into reality through your subconscious. A belief is a thought you keep thinking. Can you think something into the material world? Sure you can. Of course. 5,000 years ago, in the Emerald Tablets of Thought, creation was pronounced complete. What does that mean? That means ever since then, everything is a reiteration of creation, a refabrication of creation, a recreation of creation. And what does that mean? Well, there's not too many things that you can think of that haven't been created. Okay, try it. Everything you see is a combination of something. Everything you see is a version of something. A better version, a new improved version. But this is what the right hemisphere of the brain does, the creativity. Okay? The journey of Moses is from the left hemisphere of the brain to the right, esoterically. Why the right brain? That's where God lives. Jesus sits at the right hand of the Father, not the left. Creativity sits at the right hand or the right hemisphere of the brain. Okay. Connection sits at the right hand or the right hemisphere of the brain. Imagination, right hand, right hemisphere of the brain. Okay, to the right. What's in the left? What's on the left? Well, logic, mathematics, right? Concrete thinking, logic thinking. And then there's the ego. Oh, the ego. Ouch. Okay. Ego is necessary. But you need to be able to control the ego, because the ego always thinks it knows best. Always. Okay. Good evening, Manuel. Good evening. Good evening in Belgium. The ego always thinks it knows best. The ego doesn't need to be eliminated. That's crazy. Okay. You need a little bit of that. Okay. But you need to be able to subdue the ego. Otherwise, it will get carried away. So the migration from the left brain thinking over to the right is very important. Creation is very important. Okay, whenever I wanted to do something or achieve something, I created it. So I worked in the radio industry in Hawaii. I'm not a part of the radio community. Nobody mentions me in radio in Hawaii. But I was there for 15 years. I was also in the entertainment industry. I'm not part of the entertainment industry in Hawaii. It looked like I was, right? Because we had the publicity, because we had the advertising. I built a $4 million advertising machine in Hawaii over the period of 15 years. I'm not a part of the advertising community. I'm not a part of the entertainment community. I had a wedding and party business. But the publicity made it seem like I was in the entertainment industry. So I didn't have to go through the contracts. I didn't have to go through the work schedules. I didn't have to go through the drug abuse to keep up with the work schedules. I didn't have to go to rehab to solve the drug abuse problems that arose as a result of being on the work schedule. So I had to create these things. How did I do that? Everybody asks me, the young kids ask me, Uncle, how did you do that? You create whatever it is you want to do. You know, at one point, one of my cousins, my favorite cousin, told me, you know, my sister-in-law doesn't have a job right now. I'm like, what does she do? Oh, she does medical billing. She goes, you want to start a medical billing company? And I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, no. But you can create anything, because God lives in here, and you're a co-creator with God. So you can create from within anything. If a bridge doesn't exist and you want to cross from here to there, you can build a bridge. Now, a lot of people are like, well, how do I do that? Okay. Don't be concerned with the how. When I started my first company, which was a production company, I didn't know how. I just said, well, we're going to do it. Let's do it. And we did it. My second company was a singing school. It was the first commercial singing school in Hawaii. So the first year in the phone book, it was just us. Then everybody saw, everybody copied. The second year, there were 11. So we set the trend. Okay, how did that happen? Well, we advertised, okay, and then the salespeople from the telephone company that put out the phone book. Okay, this was back in 1989. They go around to everybody else and they go, "Hey, these guys are teaching voice. Why don't you guys teach voice? Why don't you guys do this?" And those people weren't even qualified. They had no training. I had training, but they had no training. So the next year, when there was 11, I was like, "Yeah, right, right." There was this guitar teacher. He still does it, still. And there's no animosity to these people. I'm just saying what it is. Okay, I'm just saying how it happened. So you had a guitar teacher teaching voice. Then you had a drummer who built a company who hired other people to teach voice. But the difference was that when all of these other people weren't getting results, these people would call us, and we would get them results. In 2 months, it was phenomenal because we did muscle development, because we approached it through physiology. So it was different. Anyway, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to start the business part. So in the beginning, it was like, okay, what do we do? Well, let's do this. Okay, try that. Oh, we hit a wall over here. Okay, pivot, go over here. Oh, okay, that works. Okay, we do more of that. The how to, especially in an institution, takes you from here and goes like this. Okay, and now you're this. You become this. Okay? Because you're born with infinite knowledge. But you've been conditioned to believe that that doesn't exist. And then you go to school and slowly, like a, what do you call those things? Those clamps in the workshop? Yeah, whatever. I'm not one of those people. And they go like this, right? Okay. And now this is your thinking. And now this is your understanding. I coach professionals, okay? And I have to take them from here and I have to go like this. Come on, open, 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 open. Because a mind only works well when it's open, much like a parachute. So, how does this process work? It works within the kingdom. Jesus Christ said the kingdom is within. If you work from the kingdom, if you work from in here, you can create anything. Okay, I didn't want to create a big, massive thing. I created a lot of little things. And those little things provided me with freedom. Freedom is the goal. Okay. If you're going to create something that's going to stress you out, you do become a prisoner to your creations. Okay, so be careful what you create. Be careful what you wish for, because it will happen. The conscious mind sets the target or the goal. A belief is a thought you keep thinking, and when you place it into the subconscious with emotion, when you marry intention with emotion, it begins to manifest. Because the subconscious starts to look for ways to make it happen. Oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do that. What does the superconscious do? God is the superconscious. The superconscious looks at the contents of the subconscious and says, oh, this is what you believe? Okay, we will empower this. And then the doors begin to open and people come into play, people come into view, right? The right people, the doors start to open, and guess what? There you go. you manifest what it is. So let me tell you a fast story of one of my clients. So one of my clients recently had a major breakthrough. This week, as a matter of fact, this past week. It happened on Friday. I was ecstatic because I kept telling him, this has to happen. Okay? Because when you take okay, let's talk about manifestation for a second, okay? So affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, all aimed at one thing has to happen. It cannot not happen. It cannot not happen. So here's what happened. We've been working. I can't give you all the details. It's a personal client, right? And I have I think 3 or 4 of my clients on this platform over here. I don't want to mention because the algorithms get sensitive. But anyway, so we started working a year ago. Okay, a year ago. And he had these huge plans, these huge dreams. And I said, okay, first we need to scale it down. Okay? Because he heard that, well, I'm the guy to see because I show people how to do all this stuff and yeah, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we start going to work. I said, okay, let's scale it down to something practical. Why? Because the subconscious can only deal with what it can wrap its mind around, okay? Something tangible. If you're writing affirmations to win the lottery, okay, you have to start small. Like everything in life starts small and then grows. Okay? And along the way, he tells me, I'm so proud of this guy. I really am. Along the way, he tells me, about 6 months in, he goes, when is it time to quit? So, I had to fix it, right? I fixed it. Because sometimes people have doubts, and doubt and fear sets in, right? And when doubt and fear set in, guess what happens to manifestation? It goes like this. It starts to shrink. It starts to go like that, okay? Figuratively. So I had to get rid of the fear, get rid of the doubt. That's what a coach does. That's what a good coach does, okay? So it's moral support. Human beings can accomplish anything. It's just that most human beings don't have faith in themselves. That's all. Okay? I always tell people I'm too stupid to know that I can't fail. But that's not really it. I understand how the human works. And God does live in here. Okay? God is real. Just so you know. And Jesus was trying to tell us about this. So we go down the road about 7 months. Oh, this is going to happen. Okay, so, through the doors, the superconscious, the doors start to open as he takes the steps. And I'm telling him, see, the doors are opening. That was like month 7. We get to month 9. It starts going like that. Yeah, I don't see any results. He goes, this is insanity. I said, why? He goes, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, getting the same results. And there's no results. And I'm like, okay. So we pick him up again, dust him off again, emotionally. I know, come on, let's go. Let's keep walking down this imaginary road. Come on, let's go. So pretty soon I said, you know what? I'll do this with you, okay? Because I got to prove it to this guy, okay? Because I've done things over and over and over and over. I've proved it to myself. And the people around me are like, dude, what are you doing? Another one, right? So I said, all right, come on. And I rolled up my sleeves and I went knocking on doors with him. Okay? No results from the meetings. No results. Finally, there was this one, okay? But nothing over the holidays, through the holidays. On Friday, I get this text. Okay, this past Friday, I get this text. I can't tell you what it said because there was an explicit. There was, yeah. expletive in the text. And I looked at the text. I go, he's not talking to me, right? And then another text, and another. Pretty soon we had a conversation on text, via text. And I said, you see, I told you. So what, how come it took so long? Sometimes it takes a while. It's not insanity to work with your subconscious, okay? Affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization, all aimed at one thing eventually will turn out, no matter what. Because of your perception, because of the reticular activating system in your brainstem. But your subconscious has to believe it first. So this is why you have to start small. Once you have the belief in your subconscious looks for ways to make it happen. And this is why, if the beliefs are negative, it works the same way. Your subconscious doesn't judge. God doesn't judge. The superconscious doesn't know. It doesn't judge. It empowers. So it takes a look at what's in the subconscious. It goes, okay, God, we'll put energy into that. This is why Jesus said, seek first the kingdom and all else will be added unto you. Because when you start in here, everything comes. When you start out here, it takes a long, long time. And awareness is important. Why is awareness important? Well, when we do the vocalization exercise with people, right, it starts to open awareness, because awareness looks like this. Awareness looks like this if there's stress, if there's anxiety, if there's overthinking. Awareness begins to resemble this. What happens when you take off the stress, take off the anxiety, remove the overthinking? Now awareness starts to go like this, starts to go like that, okay? The majority of my clients are women. Okay? And they already have a built-in heightened sense of awareness. Why? Because they're engineered to be mama bears. Women are ahead of the game, guys. I hate to tell you. Okay? They're ahead of the game. But for a reason. They have to make sure the babies are safe. It's evolutionary. They are made different than us. But my guys, right? They get it eventually. The majority of them have been trained to believe that life is just logic. Life is just like this, like they learned in college. Like this. This is life. And then I work with them for a couple months, 2 or 3 months, with the vocalization exercise. And then they go, oh yeah, I start to see this. Yeah, it's a thing. And that's why I keep telling you guys, this psychiatrist I worked with, right? On the 4th session, I said, how do you feel, doc? And he goes, I can't put my finger on it, but yeah, this is something. And I mean, he's a brain guy. He went to school for this. He writes prescriptions for medication for people, for their brain. And he couldn't explain it, but he felt it. It did him good. Morning, Desi. Morning, Peter. Morning, Jennifer. Morning, Helen. So when your awareness sharpens, what happens? You start to see how the synchronicities work. You start to see how one thing affects the next thing, because everything responds to vibration. Okay? Because your vibration is important. When you raise your vibration, and the vocalization exercise raises vibration, when it raises, you tune a human being the same way you tune a musical instrument, through their voice. It's not just for singing. So I was wondering, like back in the early 2000s, I was wondering, like, what's going on? What's going on with these people that? Good morning, Margot. Good morning. What's going on with these people? They're becoming overly confident. Like confidence. I know what confidence looks like, and they were like confidence on steroids, and I'm like, what's happening? So I had to go down the rabbit hole. Good morning, Gail. And I had to go down the rabbit hole and do some solid research, and I spent 3 years in the rabbit hole because I was so intrigued. I had to keep going. I had to keep going. And now, not even that psychiatrist knows what I know, because what I know is of the spirit. And you say that to somebody who's left brain. You say that to somebody who's has a degree, okay, has a degree for something, and they look at you kind of funny, like, dude, like that, right? But this is a very spiritual thing: mental, spiritual, physical. Okay, the physical part is the physical exercise that we do. The mental part is thinking, okay, how you think, mindset. And the spiritual part is who you are, the energy in here. You're that spirit in here. You're a spiritual being. You've been made to feel, okay, so the key word is feel. You've been made to feel that you're just this insignificant thing walking around on the planet. I'm in the preliminary stage of remembering who I truly am, releasing all fear, as it is an illusion. Yeah, it's an illusion. Power and grace, welcome. That's why President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said the only thing to fear is fear itself. There is nothing to fear. But everybody projects fear, right? Not everyone, but you know what I mean. Entities project fear. The government projects fear. Why? Because fear motivates, right? Well, in the negative. But you get fear from all kinds of things. And what happens? Anxiety, overthinking, and then what happens? Well, then you go to a doctor because you don't know what's wrong, and they'll give you medicine. One of my clients in Alabama, yesterday morning, he said, I'm on this medication, and I'm like, I've been numbed. And I'm like, yeah, you've been numbed. But it's not the medication itself. It's absorbing all the projections. That's where it starts. Okay? The medication is just another layer. And then when the numbing happens, it's like drinking alcohol. When the numbing happens, like, you don't feel it. Then you feel okay. When you do a chemical straitjacket, okay. Yeah, the anxiety went away. Now I just kind of feel, yeah, I feel good. We make no medical claims, but if you read the reviews on Google, there are nothing, first of all, there's nothing less than a 5-star review, but it's very interesting what they say. When you come from the kingdom within, first of all, when you project from the kingdom within, it clears you up here. Why? Your neurotransmitters fire oxytocin and endorphins. Okay? You don't have to remember neurotransmitters. You don't have to remember the hormones oxytocin and endorphins, but that's what happens through the voice. It also lowers your serotonin levels. Yeah, it increases your serotonin, sorry. It lowers your cortisol levels, the fight or flight. By our parents and their parents and our children, I'm breaking the cycle. Yeah, cycles need to be broken. That's the societal hypnosis that we talk about, Margot. Okay? It's hypnosis in the way that your subconscious runs 95% of your life. I pull people out of that every week. Okay? I have a client in California, in Oxnard. She may be on here. But I have a client in California right now, and it's only been 3 sessions, and this, I think the second session, she said, yeah, I can feel the separation. Now I'm not afraid to whatever, do this, that, whatever, whatever. Because you can't see it when you're in it. It's very difficult. If you're thinking like, oh, well, something's wrong, I just can't put my finger on it, but something's wrong. Something is wrong. Okay? So I get a lot of female clients. The majority of my clients are female. Why? Because they feel this right away. They know something's not wrong. I mean, not right. They know something's not right. And then what? And then people are telling them they're crazy, especially their husbands or boyfriends. Or there's no, you're imagining this. Why? Because it sounds so far-fetched. And they're right. They're right about what they feel. Okay? This is why they call it women's intuition. Because it's not men's intuition. It's sharper because they have babies. They're engineered to be mama bears. When you tell the kingdom comes within how to activate the within. Okay, affirmations, meditation, vocalization, visualization. The vocalization exercise we do helps people activate it. So if you have some music or things like that, sing to the music, sing loud, express yourself, because your voice will eventually increase your awareness, because it clears your gear. It fires the oxytocin and endorphins in your brain. If you want, you can message me and I'll explain it to you in detail. That's correct. I many times felt as men are far behind my awareness. Yeah, men are far behind your awareness. Yeah. Yeah, you're a woman. Okay? But it's biology. So these things are biological. Okay? Women are a lot more advanced than we are. Okay? In many areas. Okay? They have a bigger processor than we do, a larger frontal lobe. Okay? The prefrontal cortex is larger than men's. But women have been made to feel inferior. That's the male ego. You got women's intuition over here. You got male's ego of the male ego over here, okay? And the male ego can be strong. If you learn how to subdue it, you can turn it on and off. And you can tell, okay? Let's say you're a guy that does the vocalization exercise. You will be able to tell when you're operating from ego and when the ego is starting to, take over, and you can quiet it down. If you're new to meditation and you do a guided meditation, is this difficult to concentrate on? No, guided meditations are easier, because here's what happens, Manuel. I'm glad you asked that. So if you different body parts, yeah, a different construction. So the reason why that is sorry, we have a chat over here, so I'm going to answer the chat. But the reason why that is, Manuel, is because if you're left with your own thoughts in a meditation, it gets difficult and you break the meditation sooner. If you have a guided meditation, then you're listening to the guide, and the guide is guiding you along like that, and it's a lot easier to do. Okay, hey, there's my buddy. Okay, it's not fear. That flutter is alive, trying to come out. Yeah, it's not fear. Yeah. Good. And Janice here is a former healthcare professional. Okay, I don't want to give away too much information unless she does, but yeah, she's a former healthcare professional. So the matrix that we live in is real. Okay? And the fear that we experience is imagined. Most of it, the majority of it. Okay, yes, there are bad experiences. Yes, there are things that scare us. But from those bad experiences, from trauma, there are future events that happen that our amygdala goes, hey, this is that. This is that again. Not necessarily. You can control your amygdala. You have control. Say stop. When you get a negative thought, just say stop. But you have to refocus on something positive. That's the key. Say stop, focus on something. Say stop, picture a baby. Maybe your baby. Okay? Picture your children, whatever it is. Your dog, your cat. Okay? I used to keep a picture of my horse on my screens, on my lock screen. And now it's company logos from my companies. Yeah, like that, Manuel. It's easier with a guided meditation. Try Dr. Joe Dispenza, or you can try Dr. Connors. What's her first? Jessica Connors. Dr. Jessica Connors. So your life path, okay, and this is Sunday, so I'm going to talk more about the spiritual, okay? Your life path does not depend on anyone else, okay? Not your husband, not your boyfriend, not your wife, not your girlfriend, your significant other, okay? However, whatever, not your boss, not the company you work for. But people are convinced to believe in this physical world man-made stuff. You know, well, if I don't have this job, I'm going to lose everything. When you put your faith in the kingdom, see, I had to learn this lesson. And it was quick. It was pretty quick. Because I had to pray on this. Okay? In those days, I didn't meditate, but I had to pray on it. And the answer was, everything's going to be fine. I was in a very, very toxic workplace situation. And I left in the best of ways. I bought 42 lays and passed them out. Everybody in the office got a lay, and I left. And then I got into another toxic environment, corporate environment. But that corporate environment, probably as a result of the way I left the first one, was responsible for my popularity, if you will, which was one side of things. The other side of things were my own companies, which it fed that too, and then allowed us to build more companies. So we have 4 now. The pandemic took 2 of them, so we rebuilt 2. But we're talking about the spirit within. Okay, we're talking about the kingdom within. God lives in here. God is not up there. God is not out there. God is not down there. God is in here. God is in you. You don't have to fear losing your job. Okay, a lot of people are going to lose their job soon. A lot. You're going to see a big, huge shakeup in society. Okay? But don't be afraid. You have to cling to in here, the spirit in here. That's where God lives. Do I get shaken by things I see? Sometimes. Sometimes it's alarming. Look, I understand, but in life we should be able to trust our significant other. Okay, I didn't say don't trust your significant other. However, we trust in ourselves, okay? You put your trust, well, you put your trust in here first, okay? Here's what happens when you have negative thoughts about your significant other. Let's talk about that for a second since you brought it up. Your subconscious begins to produce actions of fear or that are based in fear. Okay? Like when somebody goes, "Oh, well, I don't know. I think my wife's going to leave me, right? Now, when that becomes the belief in your subconscious, guess what your subconscious does? It creates avenues to, she's going to leave me. And then what happens? She eventually leaves him. Why? Because he's producing actions based upon the belief in his subconscious. Let's look at the subconscious tree, okay? The roots of the tree are your core beliefs, what you believe to be true, okay, which shapes your paradigm. Your paradigm is your worldview, how you see the world, your attitude based upon what you believe. And the fruits of the tree are your actions that come from the paradigm, that is your understanding of the world and your attitude. And those fruits bring you results. Okay? Ye shall know them by their fruits. That's what it says in the Bible. Now, I'm just mentioning, I'm not pushing Bible, I'm not pushing Christianity. I'm just saying that that's what I know. That's my background. Yeah. So yeah, you should be able to trust your spouse, but you need to learn about women. Yeah, they're different. They're different than us. Okay? A lot of guys, I get guys like, when the D word is mentioned, then they hit me up. But yeah, you need to research female nature. You need to study the hardwiring of the female versus the male. It's important to know. Most people don't know. Why? Because relationships start with one beer. There's this country song called One Beer. Okay. And I thought it was pretty cool because it's pretty accurate. Okay. Because you meet the girl, right? And buy her a drink, whatever, if it's in a club or bar, which is a bad place to meet women, but okay. And then what happens? Well, then you do it again, right? And then pretty soon, oh, it's a relationship. Then, oh, it's a marriage. And then, oh, there's the kids. And then, oh, it all started with one beer. Did the guy go to the library or online or research or what? How are females hardwired? What are their tendencies? What are they about? No. So I have to take these guys. Sometimes, married people are the hardest to work with because they've been conditioned in their subconscious in the marriage. Okay. So a woman will analyze you in the first 2 months of a relationship. She will figure you out, or the first 2 months of interaction. Okay. She will figure you out and she will have your schematic in her head. And she will know what buttons to push, how far she can stretch the boundaries. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, I ain't lying. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He goes, you ain't lying. Thank you, Hakuna Matata. Okay, and then she'll have you all figured out. You can't hide from a woman. Sorry, guys, you can't hide. Okay, but women look at men like men look at jobs. Okay, you know how you get to the job at the end of the usefulness of the job and you go, well, I got to get a promotion, or I have to leave and get another job. Okay, that's how women look at you guys. Okay, so always increase your value, always increase your worth. Okay, because women love their children. I know there's going to be a bunch of married women out there going, well, my wife loves me. Yeah. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. It's not a bad thing. Women love me. Why? Because I understand them. And when they understand that I understand, everything's good. Okay? I don't mean the Valentine's Day kind of love me. I don't mean the mommy kind of love me. I mean, they really appreciate me, you know. And yesterday I got this on my Facebook. I have this story that I put up, one of these ladies, like, she sent me this huge care package from Las Vegas with tons of goodies and whatever. Women spoil me all the time. All the time. I always say chicks dig me, but yeah, that's me. But yeah, when you learn, okay, guys, when you learn, women know, and when they know, you're good. Trust me. Okay? It's the female German Shepherd that you want guarding your house. Why? Because she's biologically hardwired to be sharper up here. Same with humans. Okay? When you understand women, when you get to know women on that level and they know you know, they will take care of you. Okay? And that's all I'm really going to say, because the algorithm kind of gets sensitive when I start speaking facts about that kind of thing, because it's biological. These are biological tendencies. These are it's not, and it's not one size fits all either. Some women are different. Okay, it just depends. So the kingdom within, okay, which is what we're talking about today. We're talking about the spiritual aspect of who you are. Some people don't know who they are. Some people have no clue who they are, what they're here for. Some people have no clue what their purpose is. Okay? If you want to find your purpose, grab your pen, okay? Get a writing tab and start writing down the things you enjoy. Write down your natural skill sets, your natural talents, your natural abilities, things you have fun with. Okay? I ran from teaching for a long, long time. Because as a kid, my mom told me, you'll never make money teaching. You'll never make any money teaching. Teachers don't make money. Teachers, whatever. And she was right. Teachers don't make money. They don't make doctor money or attorney money or whatever. They don't make that kind of money. But if you build your own school, okay, now you can make money. So it just depends. You can be a teacher. You can be anything. You can have, do, or be anything. So when I thought, I was going to be an entertainer, right? Oh, yeah, I want to be an entertainer. Yeah, that's cool. Because I thought it was cool. Saw it on TV. I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And of course, it was like, entertainers don't make any money. Well, in a way, she was right. But her vision of an entertainer, which was like my uncle who went and sat in a bar with his guitar and played sets all night, they're making about the same kind of money as they were back in the 70s, back in the 80s. But I created a wedding and party business. You can see it. It's on Facebook, the Junior Kekuewa Jr. Roadshow. You can look at it. We closed it down in 2019, but it's there. Tons and tons and tons and tons of years of work, and we put it all up there. But if I did it the other way, if I just took my guitar and sat in a bar and did sets all night, or went from hotel to hotel to hotel, if I did that kind of thing, then yeah, it wouldn't make any money. We started in 1999. In 2010, we crossed the $1 million mark. Parties. Did everything by contract. Never missed a show, not one. We had to reschedule one show. We overbooked one show in 15 years. We had to reschedule. Well, actually, we didn't reschedule. We refunded. You can't reschedule the kind of shows that we did. We were doing birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries, that kind of thing, retirement parties. So that's like a one-shot thing. We had to refund one of them. And we never missed a show. We got business because other people, didn't show, right? And or they canceled out last minute. So this is the game. Just in case you guys are booking parties, this is the game that they play. Some people, and we made a lot of money off of this. Okay. Some people will say, we will pencil you in. Okay. Pencils can be erased. Okay. So they say pencil you in, meaning you're not signing a contract. You're not putting money down. They're just penciling you in. Okay, so what happens is a couple of months before the event, if someone else comes and offers them more money, guess what happens to you? You're erased. So they take the bigger money job, and then 2 months out they call you and go, oh, you know what? Oh, sorry, you know what? Yeah, we can't make it. And then people are scrambling because this is their once in a lifetime event, like a wedding, like a baby party, like a anniversary, like whatever, retirement party, whatever it is. And we made tons of money, and we signed contracts, and we took down payments. So it's important to do business the business way. Okay, the other way is shady. If you're dealing with somebody who's penciling you in, forget it. Tell them you want something in writing and you want to pay for it. And that's your obligation, because a check is a contract and a contract is a contract. And now you have two contracts, and now you're in better shape. Okay. Anyway, just a little odds and ends today. It's Sunday, the day where human beings stand up in front of congregations professing to know the will of all creation. I know, I know. Anyway, so I have clients that I need to get to, so we're gonna say goodbye. And we're here every day. Okay, we're here 7 days a week, 7 a.m. Hawaii time. And yeah, we're gonna let you guys know about that real quick. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Hawaii time. I'm Junior from Here For You Life Coaching. Check us out. It's hereforyoulifecoaching.com. Go look at our Google site. We have nothing but 5-star reviews, and read the stories. I think it's pretty interesting for you to read. Anyway,